Following the shocking news that Teddi Mellencamp underwent brain tumor surgery, her estranged husband, Edwin Arroyev, has come out and given an update of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum. Taking to his Instagram, Arroyev wrote, "Our family is thankful to everybody for your continued prayers and well wishes. Teddi is beyond grateful for the outpouring of love while she continues to recover." Teddi Mellencamp's health scare led to the discovery of multiple brain tumors, with 2 being removed via surgery. In his latest social media post, Arroyev shared how he was choosing faith at this difficult time for his family. Arroyev also shared photos of himself with his children, Bella, whom he shares with Christina Mecklenburg, and Slate, who he shares with Mellencamp. Arroyev and Mellencamp also have 2 other children, Dov and Kroz. In the early days when the news broke, Arroyev shared a photo of himself and Mellencamp in a hospital bed. The caption included a Bible quote. Edwin Arroyev updates fans despite divorce. After dealing with severe and debilitating headaches for weeks, Teddi Mellencamp shared her ultimate diagnosis on her social media. Part of her post included, "For the last several weeks, I've been dealing with severe and debilitating headaches. Yesterday, the pain was unbearable and required hospitalization. After a CT scan and MRI, doctors found multiple tumors on my brain, which they believe have been growing for at least 6 months. 2 of the tumors will be surgically removed today. The remaining smaller tumors will be dealt with via radiation at a later date." While Arroyev didn't share any specific updates on Mellencamp's status, his updates did bring some ease to fans eager to learn of the RHOBH star's health. Despite the divorce filing from November 2024, Arroyev is still keeping fans abreast of the situation. After 13 years of marriage, Mellencamp's filing cited irreconcilable differences, but it has been reported that Mellencamp has paused the split. Faith, family, and the unexpected journey. The sterile smell of the hospital room lingered in the air, an ever-present reminder of the battle Teddi Mellencamp had been thrust into. It had started like any other day, a headache that seemed worse than usual, followed by dizziness, nausea, and eventually a trip to the emergency room. But the series of tests that followed had delivered news none of them had expected. Tumors, multiple brain tumors. 2 of them were large enough to require immediate surgery. Teddi had always been the strong one, the one who took care of everyone around her, who seemed to manage the chaos of her life with grace. She was the star of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, a successful businesswoman, a devoted mother, and a wife. Yet here she was, lying in a hospital bed, vulnerable in a way she'd never known. Her estranged husband, Edwin Arroyev, stood by her side. The years of tension, the growing distance between them, the irreconcilable differences that had prompted Teddi to file for divorce just months earlier seemed so far away now. In this moment, everything else faded, leaving only the need to support the mother of his children, the woman he had once promised to love and cherish through thick and thin. His fingers hovered over his phone, unsure whether to post an update for their fans. But Teddi had always been open with the public, always shared the highs and lows of her life. So, with a deep breath, he tapped out a message, his heart heavy as he reflected on their complicated journey. "Our family is thankful to everybody for your continued prayers and well wishes. Teddi is beyond grateful for the outpouring of love while she continues to recover." He paused, then added, "Choosing faith in this difficult time, leaning on love, and doing everything for the future of our children. Please keep us in your thoughts." As he pressed post, the weight of their situation became even more real. Despite the divorce proceedings Teddi had initiated months ago, they were still tied together in the most profound way possible, through their children, through the shared responsibility of caring for each other in moments of crisis. And perhaps, even through something deeper, something that defied the complications of divorce and the fractures of their relationship. It was almost surreal to think back to how they had arrived at this point. In the early days of their relationship, Edwin had been captivated by Teddi's lightness, her energy, her unapologetic transparency. She had been the kind of woman who could make a room brighter with just her presence, her quick wit and infectious smile. She had a way of making everyone feel seen, heard, and important, as though their thoughts were valuable, their lives worth noticing. Edwin, on the other hand, was the steady presence. He was calm in the face of chaos, the protector, the one who kept everything grounded. His background in business had taught him the importance of consistency and planning, and though he had often been more reserved than Teddi, their partnership seemed perfect. They had built a life together, blending their different worlds into something strong, something meaningful. But like so many relationships, life's unpredictability had changed everything. The pressures of their careers, the constant public scrutiny, and the demands of parenthood had begun to weigh on them. They had drifted emotionally distant. Their disagreements had begun to outnumber their moments of harmony. It had seemed that no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find their way back to what they once were. When Teddi filed for divorce, Edwin had been devastated, but not surprised. He knew things weren't perfect, and he had often wondered if this day would come. Still, the finality of it was a blow. They had worked so hard to make their relationship work, but sometimes love was simply not enough. But now, as he stood in the sterile hospital room with Teddi recovering from surgery, something unexpected had shifted. He wasn't sure if it was the fear that had gripped him as they waited for news on her condition, or if it was the realization that life was far too short to hold on to bitterness. The truth was, he still loved her. He didn't know what that love looked like anymore, but it was there, deep in his heart. Their children, Slate, Dove, and Cruz, needed both of them. In the midst of this uncertain chapter, Edwin knew that the most important thing was to be present, to show up for them in every way possible. It had been just hours since the surgery, and though the doctors had assured them that it went well, there was still so much unknown. They had removed 2 of the tumors, but there were more, smaller ones, that would require radiation. Teddi's recovery would be a long road, and through it all, Edwin knew he had to be strong for his children, for Teddi, and for himself. He glanced at the photo on his phone, the one he had posted earlier. It was a picture of him and Teddi from their hospital room. She was still groggy from the anesthesia, but her eyes, those familiar blue eyes, shone with gratitude. The caption had been simple but profound, something that had come to his mind in that moment of uncertainty. Faith is not knowing what the future holds, but trusting that it's in good hands. Edwin had always been the kind of person who took comfort in facts, in what could be controlled. But now, in this moment, he was learning to lean into faith. He couldn't change the past, couldn't undo the mistakes, but he could control how he responded now. He could choose love, could choose to be present, could choose to trust that God had a plan, even when it didn't make sense. Days passed, and Teddi's condition slowly improved. The initial shock of her diagnosis had worn off, replaced by a sense of cautious optimism. She had so many supporters, friends, family, fans, that the outpouring of love had been overwhelming. But it wasn't just the messages of support that helped her heal. It was the presence of her family, especially Edwin. There was something about seeing him by her side that made everything feel different. It wasn't about the marriage, or the divorce, or the years of struggle between them. It was about the shared understanding that at the end of the day, they were parents to 3 beautiful children. They were a family, and no matter what had happened in the past, their love for their children would always unite them. For Teddi, it was a wake-up call. In the chaos of life, she had forgotten what truly mattered. She had been so focused on the demands of her career, the pressure of being in the public eye, that she had neglected the people who mattered most, her family. But now, as she lay in her hospital bed recovering, she realized that everything could change in an instant. Tomorrow wasn't promised, and she had to make the most of the time she had. The days following her surgery were filled with small moments of healing. Teddi would smile at Edwin. the man who had once been her everything, and they would talk about their children, about their hopes for the future, about the unknowns they now faced together. There was still a long road ahead of them, but for the first time in a long while, it felt like they were walking it together.